Hi everyone, my name is Omar Sharif. I'm undergraduate medical informatics student at Penn University, and today I'm going to talk about how the brain sharpens images and our way to model this using computer vision models. And here is our agenda for today. And we're gonna start with a property of the human brain, which is completing the missing information. As you can see in these two pictures, our brain is going to try to complete this cat hiding behind and this dog in the eyes using stored information. And he did this by drawing this edges using his stored information, and this is a property just for the human brain. And how our brain going to do this, starting from capturing the image with your eye, it's going to the back of your brain to the lower visual cortex here in the back, and it started to processing you for the lower level visual features like edges, contrast, and this stuff. And as the processing moves up, it goes to the higher visual cortex areas when it's going to create objects, shapes, and then complete objects, the human faces, and this stuff. And this pathway is called the bottom-up pathway. But we also have another pathway, which is a top-down pathway. And in this pathway, we're going to improve the already gained feature in the lower visual cortex area based on the previous knowledge, and this works like a sharpening, and this sharpening makes our identification for images much higher. And this is how our brain deal with images. Bottom-up pathway, then a top-down pathway. And let's take, for example, here the AlexNet for the deep neural network. It's basically a feed-forward property. AlexNet have an 8 layers. Starting in the lower shallow layers, it works like the lower visual cortex of the human brain, just detect edges, contrast, and this stuff, which is really doesn't have any meaning until it moves on to the final end of the layer 8. And in this layer we are in the classification layer. As you can see, here is a penguin and here is a spider next to it. We also have a bird here, so we are in the classification layer. But this is similar to the hierarchy of the human brain in some way, which is in the lower layers, the shallow layers of the deep neural network, the most active layers in the human brain is the lower visual cortex areas, and the opposite is on the top layer, in the layer 8, 7, and 6, we have the higher visual cortex area, which is the most active ones. We recorded this using a decoder, which gets the human brain data using fMRI activity, and this is made in the lab. And we have our predicted pattern or features. Here is the difference between the two modulations, the pure bottom-up one and the top-down one. The artificial neural network is most of them uses a pure bottom-up, which is a feed-forward only, but in the human brain we have a feedback, we have a recurrent, and this works like a top-down pathway, which makes our identification for images much higher. Here we reach to our research question from this. We need to know which sharpening method emulates the human brain mechanisms most. Which one is the most similar to us? Explaining this, we made this model. We have our brain data. We have the image, of course, the blurred images or the origin. We have our brain data and the decoder trained using the DNA features. And we have two ways. We have the true images or the stimulus image. And also we have the deblurred method we're gonna use to improve or sharpen the image. And then we're gonna test this. If the image doesn't make any sharpening, it will look like the RS, but if the human brain make a sharpening, it will be most likely to the blurred images. Here is the results of the coefficients of the region of interest. We have here in the slide the visual cortex as a whole. We make it. We use the three methods here in front of us: the smart sharpening method by Photoshop, and the unsharp mask method used by Photoshop sharpening, and the to-pass method used also. And we have also the true stimulus to compare to. And according to the graph here, there is no significance according to the confidence interval, as you can see here. But you notice a trend of the data here, so we may need to do a statistical test to check it. And here's the rest of our data of our regions of interest. Here is a correlation. You notice there is not much difference between it and the previous slide, but we notice that the most active parts in the lower layers, in the lower shallow layers, correspond to the human brain areas, and here in the up layer also. And that's it. We're gonna work on some funny parts in the future. We're gonna apply the advanced layers, the advanced methods, especially deep learning based ones. As in this study, we only applied the simple one and intermediate ones, but we're gonna apply the deep learning method. And also we're gonna calculate the feature gain, similar to Abdelhak and Kamitani, okay? Also, we're gonna make the statistical test, as I mentioned, and we're gonna integrate the mechanism into the DNN model. I want to make a big thank you to members of Arab is Neuro Intuitive, as they make a group after Neuromatch Academy 2020 for Arabs, and this intuitive makes doctors and students like me, undergraduate students like me, work on collaboration on projects to improve the skills of us and also help them in their project. That's it. I want to hear your questions, and thank you.